Now we're going to look at some more equations, and we're going to use what we've done solving equations to apply some word problem type equations. So solving equations for one variable. Okay, so we're getting formulas or equations that are already given to us, and we want to get one variable by itself. Okay, so for the first one, I've got a equals 1/2 base times height. Now this is a formula for the area of a triangle. Okay, I want to solve this and get h by itself. Okay, so I'm trying to get this h by itself. Alright, one thing I can get rid of is this 1/2. Remember, to move 1/2 over, it's the same as 1 divided by 2. I'm just going to multiply. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Alright, so I've got a equals 1/2 base times height. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. My 2 and 1/2 cancel, so I have 2a equals base times height. To get the h by itself, I got to get rid of the b. Right now they're multiplied, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Right, so I get h equals 2a divided by b. For the second one, I've got c equals 2 pi r, and I want to solve it for r. This formula is the circumference of a circle, okay, or the distance around the outside of a circle. So to get the r by itself, I've got to get rid of this 2 and this pi. Okay, so I want to get r by itself. I can do this in one step. Okay, I could get rid of the 2 first and then get rid of the pi, or right now I'm multiplying all of them. Right, this is the same as 2 pi times r. Opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I can just divide by the whole thing, 2 pi. Those cancel, so I get r equals c divided by 2 pi. And the last one, I've got 2x plus y equals 3x minus 2y plus 4. And I want to solve for y. Right? So this one isn't a formula, it's just an equation. Okay? But one thing I notice is that y is on two sides of the equation. Okay? Anytime we solve for a variable when it's on both sides, the first thing I got to do is get it on the same side. Alright, so when looking at my y's, I see that this 2 is a negative right now, so that's the one I'm going to move. The opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add 2y to both sides. Y plus 2y is 3y. Now, farthest on this side, the farthest away from y, is 2x. So I'm going to subtract the 2x from both sides. So I've got 3y equals 3x minus 2x is just x plus 4. And then get rid of the 3, I divide. Okay, so my 3 goes away. Now, I can't just divide one of these by 3. I'm dividing this whole side, which means I've got to do everything by 3. Alright, so x divided by 3, I can't simplify it, so you can either leave it as x over 3 or rewrite it as 1/3 times x, right? And then plus, I can't simplify 4 over 3, so I'm just going to leave it. So y equals 1/3 x plus 4/3. We're also going to look at consecutive integers. Okay, these are very common problems. Right? First, we got to remember what an integer is. And an integer is anything that is not a fraction. Alright, so any like positive 2, negative 2, right? 0. Anything that's not a fraction. No fractions, no decimals, nothing like that. It's just your numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity that you're not fractions. Alright, so I want consecutive integers, or 3 of them, that have a sum of 30. Now, consecutive means that they come back to back. Alright? Anytime you have consecutive integers, your first one you're always going to call x. Every single time. Okay, your first one's always x. So for all of these, my first one's going to be x. Right, now I want 3 consecutive integers. Now, if we think, for example, remember we said integers are like all the numbers, no fractions, no decimals, it's got to be all the whole numbers, okay? So if I said, for example, 2, 3, 4, okay? Those are 3 consecutive integers, right? If I call this one x, right, the first one's x. To go from the first one to the second one, I add 1. So I'm going to call the second one x plus 1. Alright, so I have x plus 1. All right, then to go from there to the next one, I take that one plus 1. Right, which if we simplify, that becomes x plus 2. This 4 is 2 away from my original 2. So my 3 consecutive integers are going to be x, x plus 1, x plus 2. And it says the sum is 30. Right, so if I were to write an equation, I could say that x plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals 30. Simplify the left side by combining my like terms. So I've got an x, an x to give me 3x. Right? Then I've got a 1 and a 2 that give me 3. So 3x plus 3 equals 30. I can subtract 3 from both sides. I'm going to bring it over here. So I've got 3x equals 27. Divide by 3. So x equals 9. Right? Now that's not my answer. I want to know 3 consecutive integers, so I'm going to take this back here. So my first one is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. 9 plus 2 is 11. So my 3 consecutive integers are 9, 10, and 11. Double check. 9 plus 10 is 19. 19 plus 11 is 30. Alright, now remember, even though you could have done that in your head with some trial and error, I need to see that you're able to write an equation like this and solve it. Okay, not every example like this is going to be this easy so you could do it in your head. You're going to have some numbers that are bigger and not as easy to do in your head. So you got to make sure you can write these equations. Alright, for the second one, I got 3 consecutive even integers that have a sum of negative 12. So even is like 2, 4, 6, 8. Alright, so if I were to have, let's see, we'll come over here. Say 20, 22, and 24. So those are 3 consecutive even integers, just random ones. Alright, remember your first one, always x. Always, always, always. Okay, so if this is my x, to go from this even integer to 22, I add 2. Okay, to go from my first to the third, I add 4. So now I'm going up by 2 every time. So instead of x, x plus 1, x plus 2, I have x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. Alright, I know my sum is negative 12. So I'm going to say, let's change colors here. I'm going to say x plus 2 plus x plus 4 equals negative 12. Combine my like terms. So I've got x, x, x. So I got 3x. And then I've got 2 and 4, which give me 6, equals negative 12. Subtract 6 from both sides. Come around this side. So 3x equals negative 12 minus 6. I'm on the negative 12th floor. I'm going down 6 more. So I've got negative 18. Divide by 3. X equals negative 6. Not my answer. Bring it around here. My first one's negative 6. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Negative 6 plus 4, negative 2. Alright, double check. Negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus negative 2 is negative 12. So my consecutive integers are negative 6, negative 4, negative 2. And the last one, I want 2 consecutive odd integers that have a sum of 12. So now I'm on odd. Right, so if I were to pick some odd ones, let's say 15, 17, and 19. Right, if this is my x, to go from 15 to 17, I add 2. 15 and 19, I add 4. Alright, it's okay that this is the same that we just did with even. Okay, because if you think about it, evens are just as far apart as odds are. Okay, but when we work it out to my answer is going to be odd, and it won't be even. Alright, so I have x, x plus 2, and, oh, I only want 2 this time, so I don't even need that last one. Okay, I only want x and x plus 2. And then we'll get rid of the 19 and the x plus 4. Alright, I know the sum of these consecutive odd integers is 12. So I have x plus 2 equals 12. My like terms gives me 2x plus 2 equals 12. Subtract 2. 2x equals 10. Divide by 2. X equals 5. Not done. Got to come back here. My x is 5. X plus 2 would be 7. 5 plus 7 is 12. So my consecutive odd integers are 5 and 7.